Oh, hello there. I'm Scotty. You are not. And continuing Remake-A-Thon. Sorry it's been a little slow going, and I meant to do at least two more of these yesterday, and then just didn't. Started binge watching Dead Meat, and by the time I was done with those, his Scream recounts and the two newest ones, it was like 10 o'clock. I'm like, nope, time to just relax, I guess. That's what happens when time gets away from you. So we're taking a look at Red Dawn, the remake to the 1984 film, which is now 40 years old this year. I know it's just like hell. And if you remember in my review of the original Red Dawn, I said I wasn't too big of a fan of it, and I preferred the remake. And after watching this remake, I stand firmly on that. I feel like this has the better ending. The ending of that movie was very. I did not like it. Sam I am. But I do like it here. It's a better ending, I think. But the story is similar. The basic story premise is that in like rural America, an invading force comes in, and a group of teenagers are forced to fight against it. There it is. So this film was delayed first because of MGM bankruptcy, and then there was a little country called China. Yes, originally the invaders in this film were supposed to be Chinese, but between China saying, you're trying to demonize us, to, China's a big thing with movies, so you don't want to disparage them, and so they want to be able to have this movie premiere in China and make all that money. So they changed it to North Korea. Not that it helped, because China still didn't allow the film in their country. So and actually the changing of China to North Korea happened post production. Yeah, they CGI'd stuff and changed the dialogue to make it North Korean, which I even looked and tried to tell. I couldn't tell. I looked up real close at some of the, uh, the flags and everything. I couldn't tell. At the time, North Korea made more sense, in my opinion, because, there was that whole thing back then in 2012 about, is North Korea going to invade? Is Kim Jong Il or Un, whoever it was at the time, is he going to, send in, cause war? He's going to launch nukes, the whole thing back then. And, all these years later, still nothing's really come from that. I think after Kim Jong Il died, then his son took over, and it's like he calmed down. I don't know. I'm not into politics, so I wouldn't. But, it's been calm as far as I know. Because I don't follow current events and politics and all that stuff, except for who the president will be. Why won't you just go away, big orange man? Just go away. No one wants you. And those who say they do, I'm not going to say nothing, because just go away. Anyway, I'm sick of hearing his name everywhere. Big orange face in the paper. Anyway, so the original starred a lot of 80s stars. Patrick Swayze and Charlie Sheen, Jennifer Grey, Leah Thompson, C. Thomas Howell, or Tommy Howell, as I will call it. Tommy Howell. Here, though, we have very much of, I don't guess you have big stars. You have Chris Hemsworth, who, at the time of filming, was not Thor yet. Although this came out afterwards, much like Cabin in the Woods. They both came out. They both filmed before he was Thor. Before Thor, and released afterwards. You have Josh Peck, who at the time was known for dancing on Drake and Josh. And if I had watched this when it came out in 2011, 2012, I probably would have, you know, had that issue of seeing the difference between Josh and this character of Matt. And, you know, but having seen Josh do other acting stuff besides just dancing, you know, he was in that Turner and Hooch TV show that should have got renewed for another season. Disney, it was good. My son and I loved it, and then down the toilet. Then there was 3 shows that we watched on your stupid streaming service that you canceled. There was that one, right? There was the Mighty Ducks Game Changers, which was canceled after season 2. And I think there was one more that they canceled. It was just like, why? Season 2 of Mighty Ducks Game Shakers was not so good. I think the big problem was getting rid of Gordon Bombay and replacing him with Josh Duhamel. I love Josh Duhamel, but I don't know. It was also awkward because it was hockey at a summer camp. Those two things don't really fit. Although I guess hockey can be played anywhere, but at any time. Street hockey, sure, I used to play that back in the day when I was a kid. You know, you go with your friends in the middle of a area, you play street hockey, and you gotta move up, you're in an apartment complex, cars coming, to move out of the way, Anyway, this movie, like I said, with Josh, I think because I've seen him in other things after this, I'm able to differentiate. The Josh Nichols from Josh Peck. I don't see him as the dancing, modular guy anymore. I see him as a real actor. But if I had watched this when it first came out, I'd have been like, yeah. I don't think I actually watched this till I want to say 2016, 2017. Whenever I bought the movie the first time. It wasn't when it first came out on Blu-ray or DVD either, but so, I don't know. And you have Josh Hutcherson, who's, The Hunger Games and Journey to the Center of the Earth, those 2 movies, and Zathura, and Five Nights at Freddy's, now he's here. He's basically C. Thomas Howell's character, but with a different last name for some reason. Right, and Adrienne Palicki, who I know from Supernatural, and other things I can't think of what's on my head now, but she's a character here. She's basically Jennifer Grey's role, I think is what it is. And then you have Isabella Lucas, who you may know as the hot Transformer Decepticon robot from Transformers Revenge of the Fallen, as Matt's girlfriend, who I think was the Thompson role in the original, I think. Maybe wrong. Who knows? And then you have Edwin Hodge, brother of Aldous Hodge, who I know from Leverage and from, he's Hawkman and the Invisible Man movie. Edwin Hodge, you may know from the Purge movies. He was the homeless guy in the first one and showed up in 2 and 3. I think he died in 3. They should have stopped those with 3. Now there's another one called the Global Purge. And at this point, I'm just like, you say it's the last one, and it damn better be, because I'm just getting sick of these. Okay? You can argue. I'm going on a tangent, but you can argue that, hey, you should have stopped that with 3. Maybe do the first Purge and show how it all began, and then that's it. But, like here made money. Let's do the first Purge, show how it all began. That way we're not violating the end of the Purge. And then that made money, and you're like, sometimes when new political leaders get voted back in, sometimes things change, the Forever Purge is no good movie. But anyway, so, it starts off normal, people meeting up, with Chris Hemsworth character, Jed. And by the way, they basically kept the names from the original, but Chris Hemsworth is no Jed, okay? Patrick Swayze, he's a Jed. Chris Hemsworth, No, could you change it to like Jack or something? Something, Jack or Jim. Not even Jim, but Jack. Jack would work. And so they're hanging out at a bar, and his younger brother even knows in high school it's a football game. He loses, but it's okay. And I like this scene. So the power outage goes, and so they have like the police state take care of the uh, the power outage and stuff. And their dad's a cop. He's played by Brett Cullen. You may know Lost uh, and other things. We saw his face, but oh yeah, him. He's been in a lot of things. He plays Matt and Jed's daughter. Daughter? Father. I'm sorry. Yeah, he's their daughter. In this movie, Matt and Jed are not brothers. They're a gay couple. No, I'm just kidding. That's not. If they made it now, it would be. It'd be about a gay couple trying to fight through a war. Red Dawn. More like Rainbow Dawn. I'm just kidding. All due respect to the gay community. It's just a joke. Just a joke. Ha, funny laugh, ha-has. Anyway, the scene I'm talking about here is that they go to leave. He goes to leave, and he, he's like, Matt's like, you see the game? I did. And you may not have won, but you did your best, and I'm proud of you for that. I'm like, now that's a father right there. Most fathers in movies and TV shows, and sometimes in real life, be like, oh, you didn't win. You didn't win. I'm disappointed in you. And I'd be like, no, you got to support your kid. You may not have won, but you did your best. I know you did your best, and I'm proud of you for doing that. That's what you got to do. And that made my feels, man. Ow, my boobie. That unexpectedly hurt. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be super, super funny. That was an accident. Okay, that really hurt. I don't know what that was. I hit it wrong or something. A second. So then they start to realize there's not just a power outage. We find out later it's an EMP. But for some reason, Matt's cell phone still works because plot convenience. If an EMP happened, the power wouldn't just be out. Their phones would be out too. Yeah. And then it becomes more like the original. But unlike the original, I don't think there's a lot of like sitting around and arguing. There's some of that in here. Like there's at one point they have a place where they're hiding and they're found right away because one of the other people that was there, and it just he ratted them out, and I'm just like, why the fuck would you do that? These people are invading your country, and you're already showing yourself as a turncoat by turning these people. What are you doing? You don't know what these people would do. Right? Or they say, oh, you take us to them, and oh, it's okay. No, they're going to shoot them on sight, man. And I believe this is in the original, too. There's the scene where Daryl's dad, he's the mayor. That's in the original. But I think in the original it was Robert's dad was the mayor. I think it was C. Thomas Howell's character was the mayor. Dad was the mayor, I think. But he's like, you have to just come in, son. Just come in, boys. Just come. By the way, he says boys. Boys. There's one girl there at this point. And then Matt later goes off and saves his girlfriend, which why wasn't she just with them? She gets taken and it does nothing to the plot other than he runs off so Jed gets mad at him. And they have more arguing from the brothers, which is realistic, I guess. But then it's their dad that says, you keep fighting. And he gets shot. Much like in the original. Only I think Brett Cullen does a pretty good job than Harry Dean Stanton. No offense, rest in peace, good sir. But I think he's better, right? Cut to the clip from Alien. Right. See, he agrees with me. I would love to do clips, but one, no, I'm not dealing with copyright bullshit, and two, I don't have any means to do that. But right, because that's what he does in an Alien. Right, he says that a lot. Right. So I love Harry Dean Stanton. Don't get me wrong. He's great in Dream a Little Dream, underrated 80s film. He's great in that movie, but I think I like Brett Cullen better than this, as I do like Tanner better in this movie than the original. Now, Powers Booth, again, rest in peace, great actor. He's great in Frailty. But Jeffrey Dean Morgan, I mean, I'm going to have a soft spot for Jeffrey Dean Morgan because of Supernatural. And, well, you know, the man's face is on my door. I mean, come on. And I'm not even a Walking Dead fan. My friend Eric gave that to me. I'm a Jeffrey Dean Morgan fan. People could look like, oh, you're a Walking Dead fan? No, I'm a Jeffrey Dean Morgan fan. Okay? There's a difference. I could do that. But yeah, when he shows up as Tanner and with his other two guys, which I think in the original he was by himself, right? Now he's got two other guys with him. And yeah, there are other differences too. Like, Jed's the only brother that dies here. You know, the ending. Okay, let's talk about the ending. In the original ending, both of the brothers are mortally wounded and they sit on a bench and just let themselves die. And then later we get a plaque that implies because of the Wolverine's, you know, involvement, that what was called World War III was won by the Americans. And I'm just wondering how, and now without they don't call it World War III here, but it's something I thought of. So it must have gone on longer than you would think, right? Because if Russia just invaded in the original, it's not a world war. It's just it's an extension of the Cold War, right? Because that was the whole thing with the Cold War, was they thought Russia was going to invade. The Soviets were going to invade. Soviet Russia was going to invade. And that would just be an extension of the Cold War. But it's called World War III, which means other countries must have gotten involved. Right? Right. Not asking you, but thank you. So, you know, I didn't think of that until I'm like, how did the original end? Did Jed die in that one? Because it's been a while since I watched it. So I looked it up, and no, they both died. In this one, Jed is the one that dies, and then even though, Tanner says, hey, I can get you out of here, we can get back to American-occupied soil, because again, it's only a certain part of this that's invaded, although I think in the original they said it was all over the United States, whereas here it's just this part. Who knows if it's going to enlarge or not, but they probably got other forces. And that's another thing. They call it out here. Like in the first one, it's like it's one guy, but here it's three guys, and that's it. Like, they only got three, the original was only one, but So, Matt decides not to go back, and that the rest of the Wolverines are going to fight. And that's when it ends with them fighting against the Koreans. And it ends. There's no plaque, there's no saying, hey, we won World War 3, nothing. And the only thing I can think of as to why is because even though this was 2012 and it was shot in 2009, whatever, I was thinking, my thought process is, hey, we could make this a franchise if we do it right. So let's have an ambiguous ending instead of a definitive ending like the original did. Let's have a bit of an ambiguous one, saying, hey, no, we're going to keep fighting, and there's no winner declared, which, I'll give a point to the original because at least they did confirm to us that the Americans eventually did win. Whereas here, it's implied that they may win, they're going to keep fighting, the Wolverines. So, the Wolverines are going to keep fighting. So, I'll give it to the original, that part, implying, telling us, hey, we won the war. Here, we're going to keep fighting the war. It's a bit different. But I'm going to give this a pretty good. I enjoyed it very much. There were some lulls, as there are in most movies, but it was still pretty good to me. And I do think that in some parts, it is better than the original. The ending, specifically, only one of the brothers died. Like, it just felt like they didn't know how to end the original, right? Oh, both of them are going to die together because it's about brother thing. But then it's, in this film, Jed's death is what pushes Matt to keep fighting, right? So I think that works better. And yes, I did say that you know, basically confirming that we won the war in the original worked better than this, but and just them keep fighting, but it's fine. It's fine. So, what are your thoughts on the Red Dawn remake? Let me comment so much, like, share, subscribe. And coming up next, uh, well, when trying to figure out what remakes to put in this, I had to have at least one live action Disney remake. And it's even kind of stupid to call it that when the original was also sort of live action with a little bit of animation thrown in there, but it was mostly live action. So join me next time as we light a candle on the water. Because I've got a bill of sale right here that says that in these hills, it'll be a brazzle dazzle day in Passamaquoddy. And there's one last question to ask you. Can't you hear that jingle jangle sound? Oh yeah. It's money, money, money by the pound, money, money by the money, money, money by the pound, money, money by the money, 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 money.